Well, listen, I just really wanted to anxiously have a chance to get together and visit. I have talked, I'm trying to review what all got together as far as the beginnings of Thunder Hills historically, and I've been able to talk to Jim Edwards, and then I've visited nicely with Lyle Kopp too, and Dave Clemens, and anyway, I know that you were one of the prime movers as far as how this thing all got started, so that's why I really was wanting to get a visit so we could record, your memories. And can you take us back to how you got started in this area as far as thinking about a new golf course?
Well, we went out to eat over in Wisconsin, and with Gordy, and he says, "What do you think about another country club?" And of course, it's talking about. They first were talking about a public, and then of course decided that then went into the private. But I have some. And then he says, "What do you think?" And I said, "Fine, no problem." And what about? It was $50 down to get the 300, and then we were going to get the 450 after that, and $20 a month was correct. But and of course then he says, "Well, why don't you be the membership chairman?" If you remember, we went over to the American Trust every Monday after we got going, and we're always gaining on our membership. But that's the time and I don't know if you want to put this in, but that's the time that we're up to about close to 300, but what's his name from Dubuque Pass?
Harry Waller.
Waller.
Yeah.
And he said, "How many more you need?" So we said, "Well, let's go," because everybody was betting whether or not we'd ever make it or not.
Okay.
But it was $50 down, and then $450 if we made it, and then $20 a month.
Was that 1969?
Yeah, I think so. Those dates are kind of because I had the house going and so on. But it's I think it was 69 that we finally decided, and then started the timing on it. But this was a planned complex, the second one in Iowa.
Okay.
Not a unit. It was a complex. And of course, we were talking about when we did the clubhouse, we're going to open from the front nine. But if you remember, it was after we got the building, the block building, painted, and then we could go out and play.
Okay.
Of course, then that went pretty fast. All I'm trying to do is trying to make sure this is a family project as far as to get together. And it was, a lot of teamwork of everybody.
There must have been a lot of interest at that point to get this started, though. As far as that's pretty good as far as getting that many memberships right away.
Well, it was a chore, I'll tell you.
Okay.
It was a chore trying to get. When did you come in?
Oh, we didn't move over here till 87, so things were well underway by that point, Bob.
Yeah, but I thought the point of opening the front nine after we got the building stated would be a good thing to have in an article showing that this is a more of a group deal getting together.
Yeah. How
and
did
then,
you,
of course, the only...
what was your connection? What was your connection to Gordy Cunningham?
He was a neighbor.
Okay.
He was a neighbor down the street, and we've gone on vacations with him and so on. And then he invited me to. We went out. I didn't know what was going on.
Okay.
To go out to. It was over in Wisconsin. Eating place, and then he brought this up about because they took a lease out on or if sold, Lyle did with Gordy and Pete as far as the two farms for Bucky and McGovern.
Okay.
And they took a option to buy it if we got the membership.
Right.
And then, of course, this planned complex has meant that it had to have the roads and buildings all in the plans before the Iowa State and Iowa could approve it.
Right.
So it made it tougher once we really got going. And of course,
was the swimming pool, was that in the original concept?
oh yes, swimming pool, tennis courts, everything.
Okay.
Everything had to be, and all the roads had to be into the plan. So we had to get the engineering firm to go, and of course that was with the central water.
You're right.
And then separate
Septic.
septic tanks. Yes.
Yeah. To decide that you need a golf pro? How did that go?
Well, once we then decided that we were going to go, then we had to, of course, get it. I think it was Dale Moore, wasn't it?
Yes, I think that's correct.
And Cordy, and then we had Monk Massey, and then it said with Al Spiegel. Was the next one after that year because Monk was coming from John Deere, I think.
Yeah.
And once we decided to go, we had to collect the other 450.
Was that a pretty good challenge?
Well, yes, it was quite a challenge. And of course, I connected the meetings, and I had to have an increase every Monday.
Okay.
Whether we had it or not, we had to make sure there was interest in going on it. And we had pretty good crowds and questions asked. And that's when Burley Apple said, "Can we have our own golf carts?"
Okay.
And that's when we said yes, and that's when it developed from there. Because it still was better to have if you rent the carts for the pro shop.
Yeah.
But Merle Apple was the one that I know asked the question, can we have our own golf carts?
Yeah.
And we said yes. But it was a team effort 50 years ago. Well, that's a long time.
It is, Bob, and it's we owe so much to your vision and your leadership in that endeavor, and it took a lot of courage to get things rolling, and then to keep, as you said, to keep them maintained because. You needed to get the numbers up to begin with, and then people to begin to take their memberships.
Right. No, it was, but Gordy and Pete really had the vision.
Okay.
And then they put it on me as far as then taking it from there, as far as getting the membership.
Yeah.
And then of course we had to get the engineering firms to get in how we're going to lay out the buildings, because that all had to be done ahead of time.
Who
Well,
did
not ahead of time, but once we said we're going to go, it all showed up.
Who did the engineering part of it?
You know, I was just trying to think about that. Jim has the blueprints.
Yeah.
I gave him the blueprints before I came down here, so that's you can find that out. I think.
Okay.
Where that's at.
What was, and I wanted to ask you, during the original concept and ideas and getting started, Lyle was involved in buying the property.
Yes.
How did that all
definitely
fit together?
Well, I think Gordy and Pete, knew Lyle very well, and so then Lyle got a what would you call it? On the two farms.
Yes. Okay.
What do you call it?
Promise to buy or whatever.
Yeah. Promise to buy if we got the membership.
Okay.
And that's Lyle got that all set up.
So Lyle pretty much spotted the area where this would happen. Is that correct?
Oh yes.
Okay.
And the two farms worked out. Well, I thought it was over 290 though, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jim has that or not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you remember that first year as far as some memories of starting to play golf out here and how that all worked?
Well, as far as I was saying, that we had the clubhouse up, and the front nine was, in fact, we had a rain before the seed was coming up on that front nine.
Okay.
And it had a lot of grooves in the fairway, and they got them filled in. But what I remember very clearly as far as that, we said that once we get the clubhouse finished, then we can go out and play. And I think it was more like 12 o'clock before we got everything done to go out. And then started going out and playing the front nine. And that was a few stories about, we dug the well, and we should have had an auger well, and we got what do you call it, a pounder?
Yeah.
And we had to go down to the railroad in Piazza. Got water at 300 gallons a minute at 290 feet. We ended up going 1,100 feet, drawing out of like 600, but we hit the Jordan well, which is, I think it only moves, when we use most of the water, it only moves a foot.
Yeah.
But that was unknown that at that time that we didn't know what was going to happen, but we thought, 390 feet, I think it was, at Piazza, the railroad gave us, one day had 300 gallons per minute, but it wasn't there when we dug it. It was 1,100 feet.
Yeah.
And what else?
Well, but obviously at that point, that was not used as the only thing that you used the water for was...
Not the fairway.
Right.
We dug the other one down 1,100 feet for the fairways.
Right. But so at that point, you just watered the greens and the tees, is that right?
Greens and tees, not the fairway.
Yeah.
When we first started. Jim, I didn't see it in there where, if I recall, the golf course was made were only about $100,000
Okay.
at that time, if
Yeah.
I recall. You can double check that, but 100,000, that was greens and tees and fairways and excavating the land.
And that was for the front nine, is that correct?
That was no, I think that was for both.
Okay.
I think that was for both. I can check that, though. That's
Yeah.
some memories that are, but I know it wasn't the first in 50 years ago. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Money was a lot different.
Exactly.
And Gordy redid 17 green for nothing.
I remember that.
Yeah, the slope was like 6 feet.
Right. Yes.
Originally. But
Yeah.
he redid that for nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it was quite a vision for. I know that Gordy and Pete, they ran or developed Midwest Irrigation in the mid '60s, and so they were around the area, saw a lot of golf courses, and that must have been the impetus for them to think that maybe a golf course would be a good thing for Dubuque.
Right. But I know it was originally first thought of as maybe a public, but then it was changed, and I don't know, I forget when, to the private.
Yeah. Then as things developed, then the front nine you said, and that was like, I'm thinking, is that right? 71 when they started playing golf.
Yes, I think that's correct. Once we got all the plans set and the laying out of the course and the roadways and the water lines and the houses, size of the houses, and then we had taking and pulling out for buying lots. And of course, we had to use the money for the selling of the lots, for the finishing the roads and so on.
Were the lots priced the same, all of them, or how'd that work?
No, it was changed by square footage.
Okay.
And then we had drawing a ticket out, a number. What number you had for choosing a lot.
Okay.
That's another thing.
So there was 1971, then gradually homes were built out here from that point, right?
Right. Jack and Oz were the first house, and then ours was the second house.
Okay.
To live in.
And then a lot more lots were sold, and people kept building.
Right. That's how it then went from there. And some were a lot and a half. That's why there was 101 or 2, and then it ended up to be 100 because I think 2 lots were a lot and a half.
Okay. Do you remember? Well, at some point the clubhouse was built, and you started to have functions, get-togethers.
Oh yes, that's what I wanted to. I just remembered.
Okay.
Our first function at the clubhouse, with the well drawn, we had a lot of iron in the water.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a filter, so we poured scotch and water, and it turned out black.
Okay. So was that the New Year's Eve party?
No, that was the first party we had at the clubhouse.
Okay.
First party we had at the clubhouse, and then immediately we got a filter. filter that out. But boy, you take a bourbon and water and it's just black.
Okay. How about did you hire a manager at some point then?
Yeah. Well, Dale Moore was like the clubhouse.
Right.
And then what did we have? I don't think we had it. Did we have a manager of the Dale Moore was maybe, I think, both.
He was a pro, yeah.
A pro and the manager.
And then,
I don't think there was anybody else than the pro, but yeah, I know Gordy ended up talking to the nominees for pro and clubhouse manager.
Do you have somebody assigned to take care of the finances then?
Yeah, that was what's his name?
I think Jim mentioned that at some point.
Jim, we had Frank Dunn.
Okay.
I think, and C.J. May was a lawyer. And then Gordy and Pete were the developers as far as the golf course.
Yeah. So there was obviously, a lot of challenges that presented themselves as you guys were developing something that was kind of unique, and would never.
Well, I don't know if any of us would have started knew the total complex of what we had to go through to try to get it done.
Right.
But of course, it developed into a lot of people that were helpers, that chipped in and really did a banner job. When did they
pave all the streets out here? Is that right away?
Oh, yeah, that had to be before you get in there, because we had to have the roads all done, and where the water was going to go, and along the road to the houses, because, we have the central water.
The road off of Highway 20 coming up to this area, was that a gravel road originally?
It was originally a gravel road.
When did that?
Originally a gravel road.
When did that get changed to hard surface? Do you remember?
Oh, that was 5-6 years later.
Okay.
And I remember that they were going to have the entrance at Piasta and then coming back to Thunder Hills. So we invited out the county people, and we put strips across the road to show how many cars were coming in here. They came out and we had just a quick lunch, but they didn't even know we're there. And then we made up a brochure that showed what the count was and where the clubhouse and the roadway and the water and so on.
Yeah.
But the county didn't even know that. That's when they put just that offset road coming into Thunder Hill.
I'm so appreciative of being able to have this conversation with you and try to record it for what we're trying to do. It's going to be it's supposed to be the 50th anniversary for Thunder Hills this past summer. Well, obviously that didn't happen with the pandemic, so we're going to move it to next year. But we wanted to have as many memories as we could preserved from the people that were involved in the early development, which obviously was you and Jim Edwards and Lyle and Gordy and so on. And so it's your memories of this are just really tremendously helpful, and people will be able to remember this.
You know, Bob, we're getting kind of old with trying to memories.
I know.
To come back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think that's good thinking as far as trying to get all this stuff together from all different people.
What I want to add is, to begin with, they use the rules of the established country club. And I would stand in my kitchen window on a Saturday morning and see how empty the golf course was. And I wanted to play. And women were not allowed before noon.
okay.
You remember that, that's true.
And finally, at one meeting, Fred Bertle stood up and said, look, my wife works and I work. And we would like to play, before 12 o'clock. I mean, that was everybody fought for that tea time.
I don't know when that timing was.
Because it doesn't really apply to us. Most of the women were working.
What is the date?
It was early on. And I wanted to get up and kiss Fred, and I knew he carried a lot more weight than I did. And it worked, and that was right and proper.
I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you guys, and hopefully we can do this again. What we're going to do is record what you had, and thankfully be able to preserve it. And it's so much great to have the memories that you presented to us, Bob and Barb also. You guys have a good evening.
You too, Bob. Thanks for doing all this